Greetings, everyone. Today is Wednesday, May 27, 2026, and this is the Evan Studios Weekly Podcast, Season 3, Episode 1. Yay, I didn't botch that. First and foremost, I have to say that I'm really excited to be back. We were supposed to come back last week, but I've been incredibly sick, and for that, I apologize in advance for any coughing attacks that may ensue during the podcast, especially as I go on speaking. There's a high chance that I'm going to start coughing really, really hard, so I apologize for that in advance. We have a lot to talk about, obviously. We took a long break for the podcast. I've been really, really sick. Respiratory reasons, had to take a bunch of corticoids and antibiotics, whatever. But I don't want to talk about sad stuff. I want to talk about the good stuff. I want to talk about what we have achieved with Journey Abroad, what we have achieved with Bloodlust, what have we been doing in terms of the remake of Fleeting Iris, and what we have reserved for everybody on the future. So let's focus on the good things instead of all the negative, and try to just focus on what we can control other than the sad things about life. I'm going probably to talk this in terms of chronologically. So first and foremost, in terms of the Fleeting Iris remake, as technology advances, we have been trying a bunch of cool stuff, not only to improve some other scenes by training AI heavily in our own art style. So some of the older scenes that didn't age as well are going to receive some well-needed improvements. Considering that the team that drew most of the CGs for Fleeting Iris is the same team that is drawing the CGs for Bloodlust right now, and we don't want to cause any sort of delays or moving work out of Bloodlust to put into the remake of Fleeting Iris. We are going to try and do most of the stuff with AI in the ways of improving the scenes and whatnot, but it will have to be AI in a way that it feels like it's not even AI. If it's the type of AI that you can easily tell it's AI, we're not going to use it. We're just going to try and give slight touch-ups to some of the older scenes that did not age as well. Most of the scenes in the game, however, we're just going to upscale them, which is not hard because we did not draw the scenes in 640 by 480 for RPG Maker VXAs. We drew them in big, in HD assets, and we shrunk them to fit the window screen. So we have the original big size assets. So bringing them back to bringing them to the present to a new higher resolution is not a big deal. We will just have to reframe a lot of the scenes, and we're going to take some time to do all the improvements that you can see nowadays in Bloodlust, in Journey Abroad, in terms of the quality of the story, the quality of the maps, the proofreading and whatnot. Everything is going to be a lot better in the Fleeting Iris remake. We're going to do it as if we are working on a new game, which means we are not just going to try and grab the old game and try to give it a facelift and just call it a day. No, we're literally going to rebuild an entire game with the base of Fleeting Iris, which means the story will be very similar, but in terms of the routes and whatnot, we're going to try to make everything play along a lot better. We're going to try and make all the routes playable in a single version. We're going to improve the dialogue a whole lot, not only just proofreading it and whatnot. We're literally going to rewrite the story heavily to the point. Sorry, we're going to rewrite the story heavily to be far better. Now, we need to be careful because even though we have debated this a million times, but we need to be incredibly careful with Fleeting Iris, because even though anything that we do might, if this is like a balance, if this is like if these are scales, because there are people that like characters that get corrupt fast, and they want the scenes to get super exciting right from the get-go. They don't like all of the fluff that happened in the early days of these games. And there's people that hate it when the character gets corrupted too fast. This is always, in this regard, it's always a trade-off. So we need to be very careful that we don't tilt the scales too much to one side or the other side. Even though we want to make the dialogue better, and even though we want to make Ayame's corruption feel a lot more organic, other than what it is that we have in Fleeting Iris right now, we also can't make it in a way that the people that don't like drawn out game starts to feel like it's going to be even worse. It's going to get to draw out even further. So this is literally a trade-off. We need to be careful not to tilt the scales too much, because obviously we want to make the corruption more organic, and that might lead to make the corruption add more progressively instead of right away. But we risk alienating a portion of our player base that don't like those big drawn out early games. So we need to be careful when doing the improvements on Fleeting Iris, to the point where we don't switch the game around too much, to the point where people that love the first one, for whatever reason they love the first one, to not enjoy the remake as much. So we need to find ways to improve the game without changing it too much to where it doesn't even feel like the same game. Honestly, I hope that people that have been playing Bloodlust and were fans of Fleeting Iris enjoy the path that we're taking with the games. I hope people enjoy the dialogue, the story, the way we planned out the scenes and whatnot. And it feels like a direct improvement over Fleeting Iris, because it's really hard to get a game that people loved and it became like a cult game, and not completely botch whatever you're gonna do next. I have personally played a lot of games where the first game I liked a lot from a certain developer, and then future games I was like, wow, it doesn't even look like the game was made by the same people. And our goal for everything after Fleeting Iris was, I want this to feel like a direct improvement over that. And it might be hard to do so, especially it's really hard to see it early game because there's not a lot going on. But we really want Bloodlust to feel like a direct improvement over Fleeting Iris. Which means that if you look at the quality of Bloodlust, you should get an idea of what to expect of the remake of Fleeting Iris. That's kind of like the circular logic that I'm trying to explain here. So for Fleeting Iris, we're going to try and do a little more of the same. We're going to try and improve the dialogues a lot. We're going to sorry. We're going to try and make the storylines feel a lot more organic and feel a lot more natural and feel like something that could actually happen in real life and you could actually see it happen. But, you know, with the leniency and the goofiness that you should give an anti-game or specifically a Eastern style anti-game, because these games are not supposed to take themselves too seriously. There's always realism usually takes a backseat to sexiness and delivery and whatnot. It just feels like in these games that should be a way to put it, because obviously you want to be as realistic and you want to be like making things make sense, but you also don't want to take it too seriously to where the point where it detracts from the delivery. And it's an entire game, so obviously being able to make scenes that are sexy and whatnot should be the main reason. Now, a good writer, and I'm not saying I'm one, but a good writer technically will be able to do both. He will be able to deliver incredibly sexy scenes while making everything feel realistic. So I'm going to try my best to do that. I feel like there were moments where IAM felt real in Fleeting Iris, and there's moments where everybody's like, "Oh, come on, no one is that naive," and yeah, there's also some type of like personality and character that you want to preserve over the game, because there's a certain innocence and there's a certain there's certain aspects of Ayame where you feel like if you mess up this at some point, it's really hard to come back from this. It's really hard to save the character. There are points where the character starts having intercourse with just about everyone, and it feels like there's no real motivation for it other than the character is a complete slut. If you don't build slowly towards that, it feels like people will lose interest on the character. So we want the game to have as much freedom as the first one had in terms of the amount of stuff that you can do, but we also want to make it where the character builds more progressively towards it. And we also want to give the character stronger motivations, not just like my husband is never present, the others give me attention and whatnot. I feel like at points during the development, we felt a little bit pressured over delivering results, and we tried to rush IM's progression and IM's development just in order to be able to deliver entire scenes. And now that Fleeting Iris is kind of like a side project to Bloodlust and Journey Abroad, it feels like we can take our time and release the patches only when we're happy with the stuff, because we're obviously delivering on the other regards on Bloodlust and Journey Abroad. So Fleeting Iris should not be the main focus of our development. So we're probably just going to take our time and try to get everything right. But also we're going to improve a lot of routes so that at the time we felt a little rushed on creating, and maybe the writing isn't some of the best writing that we've done. Other than that, for Bloodlust, we just released the first patch. I feel like that patch, in terms of what we wanted to deliver, is like 90% of the way there. There are still problems in I didn't double check the expressions, so probably like a good 20-30% of them are incorrect. I didn't have time to create the visual novel backgrounds for the entire scenes. I didn't have time to finish the menus. I'm still drawing some of them. I can actually probably post some previews for people that for the people that follow our Discord. You probably have seen sort of rudimental version of these menus, but I'm going to show you where we are in terms of what we have actually designed. So this is the first mock-up. Give me a second. Is this the selection menu right here? Just trying to be sure. I think this is it. So this is the one of the menus that you can see in game. Okay. The background menu I did with mostly in Photoshop with some help from AI. And then these are the characters that you're going to see, but obviously they are only outlines. I hope YouTube doesn't flag this for us naked or whatever, but these characters are obviously not naked. They're just sketches. They're outline silhouettes, so to speak. And they are going to have their costumes, their agent costumes, and you will have a menu where you will be able to see stats. This is just one of the menus. This is not the whole main menu. This is just one of the menus, which is it's the relationship menu. You will have the stats menu, the equipment menu, the you will obviously have the inventory and whatnot. This is specifically the relationship menu, and then you can pick an agent and you can learn more a little about them and their relationships. And then once you pick a character, we are still working on the mock-up for Eve. We will do Jazz at a later date. And then once you select the character, more or less, once you select the character, you will see something like this. The yellow part is just where the area where we want to centralize the character, and then on the bottom right, on the bottom right area, Jesus, you will be able to see the antagonists for the game. If you haven't met them yet, or if they haven't revealed themselves as antagonists, you will see some shades. Do I have an image to? Give me a second. Let me see if I have an image to actually share in that regard, because I shared it with a few people. They really liked it, but I will probably, yeah, it's probably on Photoshop. I can probably just get it out real quick. If you guys give me just a couple seconds, I will show you exactly how it looks. Right here, and oh, this is stage 3. Okay, give me a second. Right here, and then yep, this is kind of it. Let me just make sure that everything is safe for work. Okay. when we're releasing stuff on YouTube, even if the channel is marked as adult, there's, yeah, you need to be extra careful. And wait, where did I put that? Sorry. There we go. So this is kind of like where we are going to take this. So just to give you guys an idea of what you're seeing on the screen, obviously the yellow area is again where we have to fit Eve's character. And then if you haven't met the characters yet, you will see kind of like a silhouette, a missing data, whatever. And then you will have her stats, which we haven't decided how to place it yet. I'm still kind of like deciding a little bit on the layout. We were thinking about going with the typical being able to see the body parts on the left, and trying to put, like, if it was on the mouth, the stats for like kissing, blowjob, whatever will be there. And then if it was on the pubic area, you will see orgasms, cream pies, whatever. You will see the stats over that. Not entirely sure how we're going to deliver that. And then we're going to have a little bit about the character, and then what I consider to be the most interesting part of the whole menu is when you pick one of the antagonists. And for this case, for today, we are going to be using Terry as the antagonist. So this is an older mock-up, so please keep that in mind. I just want to showcase something. You will have sort of like an image that reflects you will see an image that reflects their stage in their relationship. So sorry. So here you see Eve being kind of standoffish. So it's at a very early stage in the game. You will see Eve being kind of standoffish and whatnot. Obviously, this is assisted by a little bit of AI here and there. But again, this was only a mock-up. And then later down the road, you are going to have something like this. And this is some of the design here is already very close to what is going to be in the end. Now, do keep in mind that most of what you see here is just me working on the front end, and I'm not very good at this. I'm really trying my best, but I'm no professional when it comes to this type of UI creation and whatnot. And you will see the emotional connection as well as the sexual chemistry between the characters going up or going down during the game. The character will make Eve will have, or Jazz in her case, will have a few remarks regarding the character in the stage that they are. You will see how they feel about them emotionally, and you will see how they feel about them sexually at a certain point. And there's going to be the personal sexual stats that you have with that character instead of a generalized number that, as you've seen in the previous menu. And of course, you will see the progression of the central design where you see the characters. It will update, and it will reflect certain stages in the game and certain events that take shape. So I think this will be a nice detail in terms of like lore and something else that the players can follow and will look forward to. So yeah, I'm still working on the design of this one. I've been heavily working on this for the past week. There's a few more details, but I don't want to like spoil too much. But yeah, this is a complete improvement from way back when way back when I showed the mock-up for the first time. So this is one of the things that we want to do the most for the next patch of Bloodlust that will come out next month. Release should be June 30, and I'm really trying really hard to be able to have this in the game by then. I think it will be a great improvement to have this in the main menu and whatnot. We'll see. I'm going to try and have as much as possible, and even if you don't, even if you aren't able to access this from the main menu, I will probably let players access it from the cell phone menu that we have right now, which is actually one of the menus for Journey Abroad. But as long as it works right now, in this early stage of development, it's what matters. We just want players to be able to see the stuff that we want to showcase in terms of like development and essentially just the trajectory of where we're going with the game. I can also show you a mock-up that we're working on. It's not perfect yet. It needs a few adjustments, but let me see. So this is, let me just make sure that I have the image here available for you guys. I know that you guys love previews and whatnot. Okay, not this, and absolutely not that. Jesus, where is it? Okay, is this a thing? Can I do this? No, of course not. Of course not. I thought I could just drag an image to OBS and see if it worked, but obviously it did not work. So this is needs a few adjustments, especially in terms of like the face and whatnot. But this is the Jazz Battler sprite. Again, needs a few adjustments, but this is the first preview of the Jazz's Battler sprite. But yeah, we have been trying to animate these. We have shown our animation style in previous podcasts, and yeah, this is basically going to be the Jazz fighting sprite. She's going to have like three or four different stages, and obviously she's going to have like all these crazy animations and whatnot. But right now we wanted to do the battling for the next patch, but we're not going to do that. I feel like right now it's more crucial that we advance with the story and the initial scenes, because that is what captivates people to come to the game. And these require considerably more work than a generic enticing. Basically, doing something like this takes 20 plus days to draw the character, because you see the character as it is, but all of the parts of the body, from the suit comes off, the knees bend, the ankles bend. They you can break them all down, and you've been working with the animations and whatnot. But all of that takes like a crazy amount of time to animate, especially because we don't have animators. We have been, as a team, we have been learning new stuff. So a lot of what you'll see in the game is just basically us picking up new skills, and yeah, doing the animation and whatnot is something that we're still learning, but it's turning out to look like really, really, really cool. And although battling is a very important component in the game, it's too much of a choke point in terms of development right now, and we feel like there's other things that should have priority in Bloodlust regarding the anti-scenes and regarding the design, the general design of the game. So we're going to put the battling down for, a little bit for now, even though we felt like it will be important to release it on a second patch. We feel like there's a few other things that have priority over this, and we don't want to be like, oh look, there's no enticings and no story, but here you have like 2 battlers, enjoy. Like, it's still development, and people will be able to see the development, but it's gonna probably make people feel like, oh, there's nothing to sink our teeth into. Like, we've waited 2 months, and we wanted a little something to enjoy. So we are going to take the battle a little bit more progressively. We're going to slow it down a little bit. Maybe not next patch as in June, but maybe with a little bit of luck in August we will have a rudimental battle system. But we don't want to do it at the cost of early game development in terms of like enticings and the things that people actually play the game for. We do hope that eventually the battle system is something that people look forward to, as seeing like new groups and new battle fuck going on and whatnot. But I know that early on people want to see the characters actually get some other types of action, not fighting type of action. So yeah, that's some of the other stuff that we've been working on. And yeah, in terms of Bloodlust, we want to do the first scenes with almost every single character in the game. We're going to be having the first Hank scene, the first 2 Terry scenes. Hank is the landlord, by the way. We're going to have the first 2 Terry scenes. We're going to have the first principal scene, Ezekiel, and then we are going to have one more Brett scene for Jazz, and we're going to have one more Chris scene, which is Alicia's, the roommate's boyfriend. We are going to have another scene for Chris and Jazz, and those should be the scenes that will come out next month. For Journey Abroad, tough news. I've been essentially sick for the first 3 weeks of this month, to the point where I literally couldn't sleep. I spent like 10 hours total sleeping in a span of 5 days. Went to the doctor, went to the urgencies. They gave me antibiotics and corticoids and a bunch of other stuff to try and improve whatever it is that I have. Still taking a lot of pills and sorry, really bad coughing attack. Still taking a lot of pills for a lot of stuff right now, including allergies and a bunch of other shit. And once I finally was able to get back to work, like I said in Patreon, I don't even know where I said it at this point. I think it was in Patreon and Discord. It was on the supporters area, but basically my computer screen died. My Odyssey. Okay, let me have a little water. Jesus, this is horrible. Give me a second. Okay. Humidity, please save me. So my Odyssey G9 died. And for those that don't know, the Odyssey G9 is an ultra-wide computer screen. It's a Samsung Odyssey. And the resolution of that one is like 5,200 by, I don't know, like 1,400 something. And it's something that has become like an invaluable tool for my work. Regarding being able to do stuff in RPG Maker, regarding doing the maps in Photoshop, regarding doing everything that I've been doing in Photoshop. And okay, and yeah, basically one of these days, like 2 weeks ago, it's gonna be 2 weeks tomorrow, my computer screen died. Basically the board inside I'm hoping, Jesus Christ, I'm hoping it's the board. Basically the board wasn't able to power up the computer, the monitor. So I talked to a friend, because I went to one of the biggest stores in Portugal that fixes things, which is called Vorten, and they were like, yeah, no one's gonna go near that stuff. We don't fix that stuff. We only fix it if it's in the warranty. And my computer monitor wasn't. My computer monitor been dead for like was bought like 2022 or something. So I thought I had a dead monitor, and I was feeling absolutely like shit because it's a $1,500 computer screen, and I absolutely cannot afford another one right now. And I thought I would have to work on severely weaker hardware that will make my work a lot more a lot harder to do, and a lot more task, because like with the other monitor, I can have a billion things open at the same time. It's kind of like, the way I explain this to people is like, imagine having a desk, and your desk has like 5 drawers, and you start working on something. You open a drawer, you put it on the middle of the desk. You work a little bit on it. You gotta close the drawer, open another drawer, put something on top of the desk, mix those two things, then open a drawer, put them there, open another drawer, start working on something else, instead of just having everything on top of the desk. That's kind of like the best way that I can explain what a massive computer screen feels like. It's basically, you just have a bigger desk. You don't have to be closing things and hiding things and whatnot to be able to work. Not only that, I've made the whole game on that resolution. Like, you are accustomed to a certain amount of pixels. Now, since you guys probably know we're broke, I'm working on a computer screen that the max resolution is 920 by like 1080 or something like that. Everything looks way too big, and it's really hard to get a feel how things should work. Like, I'm honestly hoping that the things that I've been creating look as good as I think they actually do, but right now there's a lot of guesswork, to be honest. Even in terms of colors and everything, it's not even comparable. Now, when I got to fix my computer screen, they were like, listen, so I didn't have a store to fix it, but I talked to a friend of mine that has a lot of connections, and he said, dude, I actually know someone in Samsung. I'm gonna try and get him to fix your stuff. So I went to a store that is like 30 minutes away. I drop it there, and my friend was like, the friend that I said that will take a look at your computer, it won't be here until next Thursday. because he's on vacation. And I'm like, dude, are you serious? And he's like, dude, if you can find someone else to help you, meanwhile, by all means. But my friend will be back next Thursday. And I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ, it's a week away. I'm gonna be like not working for a week. That's unthinkable. So someone else ran the diagnosis on the computer screen, and they said, oh, dude, okay, we ran the diagnosis. It should be the board. It costs $275. And I'm like, okay, you guys, are you sure it's the board? Like, am I going to pay $275 and fix a $1,500 computer? Or am I going to pay $275 and they're going to be like, well, this was fucked up, but this other thing is also going to be fucked up? Is this like going to a bad auto shop, or are you actually going to fix this? And they're like, well, if it's not this, there's a very slim chance it might be the actual screen, which we cannot test unless we fix the board. And right now I'm terrified it's not the board. They say they will receive the piece this week. And then once they put the new board in, I'm praying that my screen becomes fixed and I can go back to work naturally. Else I'm going to have to buy another screen and probably ship out another I don't know, $400 or $500 to buy a decent monitor, which right now I don't have money for at all. And probably change the whole settings that I have on the work computer for pretty much every program that I use. So yeah, that's totally not gonna fucking suck. So fingers crossed. Pray for me. Pray for my computer screen, I guess. That it gets fixed this week. Or I don't even care if it's this week, next week. I don't care, as long as it's fixed and I don't have to pay more money for it. I'm just praying that it's the fucking board, and that the $275 that were already so much more that I could have afforded, but I still found a way to come up with them, and I'm just hoping that that fucking money fixes the board and that the board fixes the monitor, or else I'm going to be incredibly disappointed. But right now I just don't want to be dwelling on the negative. Whatever, que será, what will be. If I have to switch the whole thing, the whole manner that I work in, it will sorry. If I have to do that, then I will have to do that. It is what it is. Just kind of praying, just kind of hoping that it's just not another negative, another rock on the cogs or whatever. Just trying not to dwell in the negative. Especially right now that we are so excited. We were able to release an incredible demo for Journey Abroad. We were really happy with what we released for Bloodlust and all the stuff that we have created meanwhile, and all the things that we are excited to release in June. The stories are so great right now. I don't know, man. And there's something that I want to share with you guys, but I cannot share it on YouTube. But two things that I want to point out. One, I want to share a little bit about the development and the story of the next few scenes, just so you guys can have like a little bit of an idea. I can probably talk about it. Why not talk about it? I'll probably just explain to you guys. And in terms of like the previews, the entire scenes, some of them have already been drawn but not colored. As soon as we have them colored, which is what we're working on right now, we will go back to posting previews on the preview channel. Keep in mind that the preview channel on Discord is available for $1 plus supporters. The previews for Dreamville Saga and the previews for the Only Chronicles, or in this case Bloodlust and Journey Abroad, they are in the supporters area and they cost like $1 a month, and we will start releasing the previews there like we used to release for Fleeting Garris. And I feel like we can wrap up the podcast after explaining kind of like the vision that we want to take with Bloodlust, And yeah, I'm really sorry for everybody that was super excited for Journey Abroad. Just it was just not a good month this month. We're still gonna try and release something really really cool next week. Hopefully, if my computer screen comes back this week. Also, we're still gonna release something cool next week, but probably not as much, and I'll probably be feeling incredibly shitty about it. But whatever. So in stages, let's do this in stages. So I want to give you guys kind of like an idea of the development that we have planned for Fleeting Hours, and I'm going to explain how one of the scenes goes down next patch, and kind of explain to you guys some of the decisions that we are making with the game. We have already shared this in the VIP lounge for Fleeting Hours, but it is what it is. So something that we want to do with the overall scene structure and for Bloodlust, we want to make it so much better than Fleeting Hours, where in Fleeting Hours there's a few scenes that it just feels like we just want to cover a fetish. We just want to make Ayame have sex with a certain character wearing a certain costume on a certain place. She goes to the gym and she just has sex with a gym guy, and for whatever reason she's wearing the swimming thing. But the story behind it is weak. The story behind the whole gym scenario for people that play Fleeting Hours is kind of weak. There's no bigger story there. There's like a million ways to improve that. Ayame could go to the gym together with Robert. They could do that behind his back. He could be around. There's just so many ways to improve that scene in general. But I wasn't as good of a writer as I am today, and we were under like a different type of pressure. We were motivated to just release like volume instead of quality. And unlike Bloodlust, where I was able to like sit down and write the whole game and most of the scenes and take time doing that, Fleeting Hours I was kind of like writing as I was going, and I was mostly waiting for community input to see where people wanted the game to go, in what direction they wanted the game to go. For Bloodlust, we're going to be doing things a lot different. More than certain character with a certain costume on a certain place, we want to make all the scenes look very powerful for many different reasons. Okay, so one of the scenes that we're gonna have next patch. So to kind of like break down how the Terry scenes happen, they are breaking down between a past moment where you see 18-year-old Eve, and they're breaking down between a present moment. So something that you do in the present is going to trigger a memory. In that memory, you will see the game from young Eve's perspective. The decision you make sorry. The decision you make with young Eve might have a direct impact on the scene that you see with adult Eve. So once you reach a point where you have to make a decision, you will get a flashback. You play as young Eve, and basically this will be mostly how the scenes with Terry works. This is all of these mechanics are intricate to are specific to Terry. So obviously, as you know from the story, Terry and Eve have a past. You just don't know how exactly how deep that past is. As you make the decisions, the story will take shape, not only in the past, but their consequences in the future. Ultimately, you realize that they did as little as getting drunk and have Terry take her virginity in prom night, or as much as actually making a whole mess out of her when she was younger. In the next patch, we will have a scene where Eve, Martin, her boyfriend, one of the teachers, and Terry, the gym teacher, they decide to go have dinner together as old-time friends. Eve obviously seems rather reluctant to do it because she's, in a mission and she doesn't want to do anything that can jeopardize the outcome of the mission. But eventually, she realizes that she can't keep avoiding Terry forever, and her bullshit story about being in Weedsec isn't going to stick forever. Obviously, she's going to be like, I'm in Weedsec. I don't want to be too much in the public vision, in the public eye, whatever. But eventually, she has to do some sort of like, interchange with her friends, right? She can't keep avoiding Terry forever, so she decides to get it out of the way. And since Martin is going to be there, Eve figures out that everything's going to be fine. Also, at this stage in the game, which is going to be like a week in the future from where the first demo ended, Martin and Eve will be officially dating. So they're going to go out on Friday, and they're going to start dating after that. So all three of them meet up in front of his apartment building, where Martin also lives, and they're getting ready to leave. But Martin receives a call from his sister. He apparently agreed to help her substitute the water heater, and he had forgotten. He asks if he can postpone it, but of course, she needs it. She won't have time again for another week. She needs the water heater for obvious reasons. And Martin bites the bullet and is like, "Yeah, sure, I will. I will honor my commitment." Sorry, getting my throat super dry. So, Martin tells him to go ahead and have dinner without him, and they'll try to join him afterwards, maybe in time to eat, but worst case scenario, he'll join him afterwards for drinks. Sorry. Yeah, it's getting to that point where I spoke too much. The coughing attack is starting. So I'm going to try and wrap up. He apparently agreed to help her. Jesus. So, Terry pretends to be sad and tells him, "Wow, you promised to be my wingman tonight? You know how long it's been since I've had any action?" Jesus. So Martin says, "Don't worry, I'll come back in time for that. In any case, if I don't, Eve can be your wingman. I'm sure she can help you find a girl. She knows how girls think and whatnot. She can help you find a nice woman." And Terry says, "You don't ask fish out to catch other fish. You ask a fisherman." They start doing some banter and whatnot. Eventually, Martin leaves, and Terry says, "Well, guess it's just you and I." And Eve says she won't she won't have dinner with just Terry. Terry gets offended, like, "Come on, you know how hard it is to get a reservation there? I had to call in a huge favor. I won't be getting back if we don't show up." Eve still doesn't want to go. She tells Terry, "You know why I don't want to go? Because of our past. I'm not going to dinner with just you." But Terry does a lot of trying to convince her and whatnot, make her feel bad for, making him make the reservation, not show up. So reluctantly, she eventually accepts to have dinner with him. But just dinner, she's not going to have drinks, she's not going to do anything. And as soon as she's done having dinner, if Martin hasn't show up by then, she's just going to bail. So during dinner, he starts getting increasingly brazen. This starts infuriating Eve even further, and she says she's done and wants to leave. That he's a pig and everything is a game to him and whatnot. She leaves some money on the table and bails. Fast forward about 30 minutes, we see Eve home. She's enjoying a glass of wine in her couch. She's reminiscing about her night, which eventually, makes her think about the past with Terry. And then you see the past scene. So in the past, you see Eve and Martin having a moment. He kind of like confesses to her and whatnot, and Eve decides to kiss Martin, which kind of leaves him embarrassed. He doesn't know how to react. Eve tells him not to be so shy. He's a great guy. And then Martin has to leave for class. Eve has that period off, so she goes to a classroom that is known for, students having sex in there. And she goes to this classroom. She knows the classroom is empty. And once she walks in, the player has a decision to close the door or leave the door open. You kind of like forget to lock it. Obviously, this will have huge consequences, not just now, but in the future. Because if she locks the door, she starts, feeling with herself there. So we have a solo Eve scene. And eventually, Terry knocks on the door, but since the door is locked, Eve gets kind of like a fair warning that he's there. She stops it, she puts her clothes back on, she fixes her clothes, and she opens the door. He annoys her a bit, but she closes the door on his face. And this is kind of like a foreshadowing. There's kind of like a connection here in the future, because if you lock the door, you have this moment where he passes you, and you close the door on his face. Now, if, however, you forget to close the door, Terry opens the door slightly while she's distracted. He sees Eve. He closes the door just enough to where it seems closed, but he can record her with his cell phone. And then midway through her, doing it, he joins her, and they don't go all the way, but he helps her doing the fiddling. Now, in the future, depending on your choice, if you lock the door, Terry knocks on your door, says she's sorry for what he did. Eve tells him to fuck off, that he didn't change, and she doesn't want to be alone with him ever again. Closes the door on his face. If, however, you see the young Eve having, her kitten eaten, Terry brings a box to her house. And he says, I just want to show you something. She tells him, I'm not intimidated by your size. In fact, I love an opportunity to beat his ass. So say what you gotta say and get out, or I'll throw you out. And once he goes inside, he says, you said that I think this is a game, that nothing is important to me, and I feel like you were deeply unfair. And I feel like what you will see in this box is proof of it. Now, I'm heavily paraphrasing this, but... So when Eve opens the box, there's a lot of stuff from their childhood there. There's mixed CDs, there's notes he used to leave Eve everywhere, there's her old perfume, some of her old panties, there's movie theater tickets to a party, a book, and all of these are really important because some of the stuff that is here, you will potentially see in future scenes from their young selves. So this is kind of like foreshadowing to the dates that they're going to have in the future. And you will understand later how we got every single piece of stuff that you see in that box. So among those things, he also has Eve's old cheerleader costume, kind of like the one that you see in the previews that I showed earlier. And he kept the costume in pretty pristine shape for years. Like the costume is like 10 years old or 15. I think it's 15 years old, and it still looks as good as new. Eve obviously feels touched and horrible because now she feels like Terry genuinely cares about her, having saved all this stuff for over 15 years, and she hasn't truly considered his feelings. Terry says that most people got him wrong, that they judge him for his appearance just as much as they used to judge Eve for hers, and he thought that Eve would be someone that would relate to him and understand him, and he felt like really sad that she actually wasn't, even though she was suffering the same things as Terry was suffering. He says, remember how everybody thought you were just a slut blonde bimbo? I always saw you for who you are, an amazing, intelligent, courageous woman, and I just wish that you saw me for who I was, other than a guy that wanted to be noticed and used to paint his hair. So after getting a bit into her heart, of course, the true colors of Terry show in, and he tells Eve to try it out. Eve, despite seeing Terry in a new light, says she's already dating Martin, so she won't do anything stupid. He says he knows that he wants Eve to be happy, so he told Martin to go forward with it, and that's why Martin kissed Eve a few days earlier. But he said, just for old time's sake, just, to give me like a good memory and whatnot, and he tries to do some convincing, but here in the writing you will see that Eve will do some of the convincing on her own herself. So you will see that Eve is kind of trying to push all of the convincing to Terry, but in her mind she's also trying to convince herself to do it. So after a few glasses of wine, Eve caves in. She switches to the cheerleader outfit. She puts the twin ponytails included. They both laugh. Terry snaps a few pictures of her. Says you're as beautiful and as athletic as you were in the day you left, and Terry eventually snaps a few pictures of her, and then eventually tries to kiss her, which she stops him, and he says, you were supposed to be my wingman tonight. It's kind of late for me to find someone to get laid, and yet you won't even give me a kiss. Obviously, she gets angry at him again. Knew that he was going to try and do this for whatever reason, yada yada. So there's a lot of stuff that goes on here. Eventually, Eve agrees to give him some teeth job. Basically, this becomes a little bit cliche. He takes off his pants. He's hung. Eve starts fantasizing about her penis. Says it's still as amazing as it was back when. Starts getting like infatuated. Brings back memories, etc., etc. Eventually a few details that I won't be saying over the microphone and whatever. But eventually he splurges all over her breast and her face and whatever. Starts mocking her, asking her to marry him, whatever. But the thing is, at this point, Martin comes knocking on the door. They both panic. And the worst part is, Terry feels like he was really, really close to getting Eve to put out. And Eve was definitely responding. She's extremely sexually frustrated at this point. She's trying to respond positively, but not in a way that seems like she's consenting. But it kind of feels like it's gonna lead there. Eventually, they open the door. She lets Martin in after cleaning her face, most of it. And Marnie is kind of like in shock because Eve is wearing her old cheerleader costume. Not to mention, she's now very sweaty, and there's kind of like a semi-transparent area in the chest area because of there's Terry's stuff in there. So, in order to make an excuse, she says they made a bet that she could still fit in it, and she won the bet, and now Terry owes her $100. Terry looks at her in shock, like, what the fuck? I didn't bet. And then she's like looking at him like, oh, okay. And then Terry forks over $100 to keep the appearances, and Eve is laughing inside because she just extorted $100 out of Terry. But this is to create a lot of different mechanics around it. Sorry. So this is where we're going to see a lot of elements play out, because this is going to show that Martin has kind of like a suspicion meter, which is tied to an anxiety mechanic that we're going to add for Martin. So when you see Martin being heavily suspicious of scenes in the future, you will see his suspicion meter go up, and then he tries to do something about it. But because of his past, where he found out that he got cheated on by Eve, he starts feeling too anxious to act on it. You will see the character become... This will be kind of like a plot point, but Martin will try to act on it, try to figure out if he's cheating on him and whatnot. But he's going to be too anxious and too scared to act upon it. Now, sometimes he will be able to overcome it, depending on how anxious he is. But sometimes it's going to be incredibly crippling. This is obviously going to be tied to, if it's convenient for the story and whatnot. But we're not going to try and use it as like a crutch to use every time we don't want Martin to, open his eyes or whatever. An example of where you're going to be able to see this is, to spoil a little bit further ahead, so if you don't want to be spoiled, don't listen to this part. There's going to be a scene where Eve, for reasons that you probably already realized if you play the demo, will start having shower in the gym or in school. One of these days, she's gonna go to the woman's locker room, and it's going to be locked. She wants to take a shower. No one is at school. It's way past school hours. So she's like, whatever. I'm just gonna have a shower in the men's locker room. So she goes to the lobby. She asks for a key for one of the lockers in the male locker rooms. She says she's gonna have a shower there. And whoever is at the reception tells her that's no problem. Whatever, you go ahead. And she goes and have a shower in the male locker room. She puts all her stuff in one of the male lockers, including her cell phone, her clothes and whatnot. And then she goes and have a shower. The problem is Terry sees her going into the male locker and he gets suspicious. He goes inside. He understands what is going on. He pretends not to realize that Eve is there, but come on, the shower is running and whatnot. He opens the shower, sees Eve there. She's in panic. What are you doing? He's like, I'm taking a shower. What are you doing here? So, not to spoil too much this scene, but eventually they start washing each other and whatever. And it's one of the first scenes where they actually have intercourse. The problem is, Martin at the end of the day is like, he walks into the male showers and is like, Terry, are you here? And Eve obviously gets in super panic. And Eve asks him, what is he doing here? And Terry says, I told him I was gonna take a shower. And then Martin starts talking with Terry, and they mostly start talking about their relationship and whatnot. And they talk and whatever. And this is the part where Martin's anxiety kicks in. Martin at some point realizes that there's a woman in there with Terry, but he doesn't say anything. He assumes it's just one of the other teachers, or in worst case scenario, the students. But it's college. Everybody's over 18. It doesn't matter. He still feels it's wrong, but classic Terry type bullshit. Whatever. So after this, he calls Eve on the phone, and the moment he calls her, he hears her cell phone ringing on one of the lockers. Now, Terry is terrified. He kind of wants to look to see if the girl is Eve, but he's way too scared to figure out, and is too anxious to do it right there and then. Eve also hears her cell phone. She realizes what's going on. Martin is calling her, and her cell phone is there. So she needs to come up with an excuse. She's kind of hoping that Martin doesn't confront her about it, but that night they go and have dinner together, and Martin asks her, why was your cell phone ringing from the male locker room? I don't want to accuse of anything, but Terry was having sex with a girl, and I'm going to be honest, I'm kind of terrified that, and she's like, oh, I understand why you think that, but before Martin even asks her, Eve says, I went to have a shower because my shower doesn't work at home, and the female locker room was closed, so I went to have a shower, and I put my cell phone there. So at the beginning of dinner, Eve says, I lost my cell phone, I don't know where it is. So Martin tries to figure out what is she doing, and she's like, so that's where my cell phone is. Dude, I went to have a shower there earlier, but I lost my cell phone. Are you saying my cell phone is in the male locker room? And he's like, yeah, I thought you were there. Like, she's like, no, I took a shower there in the morning, but I completely forgot where my cell phone was. I'm so happy that you found it. I'm gonna go pick it up tomorrow, whatever. So Eve doesn't use the cell phone on purpose that night. She leaves the cell phone at home in silence and whatnot. But you will see moments where you will see that Martin is going to try and confront her about things, and sometimes in the immediate, Martin is not able to work because you will see Martin trying to approach. You will hear like a very high heartbeat. The screen starts like fading to like black, and he starts having like, you will see his anxiety, his panic attacks, and he won't be able to look inside of the shower. He will be kind of like trying to peek, but he won't allow himself to do that. In the future, it's the same thing. There's a scene where Eve and Terry disappear in the beach, and he sees that Terry is having sex with a woman behind the rocks and whatnot, and Terry is too afraid to look if the woman is Eve. So these will be some of the scenes where you will see Martin's anxiety trigger. And basically what we want to do here is just to give you guys an idea where we don't want to do more than, the typical scenes for Fleeting Eyes, which is X person with X costume in X place, and call it a day just because that fits a fetish, right? By introducing mechanics like the past and present constant suspense, you will see that Terry and Eve have history, that Eve isn't comfortable around Terry, that Terry still wants her, and Marty is unknowingly caught between them. But you don't know until you play out the scenes how deep their relationship went, who initiated what, whether Terry is manipulative or genuine, whether Eve secretly misses him, whether she fears him or she fears who she is with him, whether she still desires Terry. There's a bunch of other there's a bunch of other motivations for an enticing. There's a much stronger story there. So basically, the player is going to discover the truth about them retroactively through gameplay decisions, which should trigger some sort of butterfly effect. And this is going to be presented as locking the door as an emotional boundary. Like if you lock the door in the past, you will close the door in his face in the future. So the box with the things are going to introduce foreshadowing. And this also covers the cheerleader fetish, which is obviously someone that a lot of people like. But there's going to be a lot more deeper stuff and a lot more deeper meaning behind the scene, not just Eve on a cheerleader costume with the gym coach, which will be enough for a scene for Fleeting Iris. But we need to create an NTR game where the romantic interest is actually present. You see what is going on in his head. You actually play as him. You see how the scenes are affecting him. There will be a lot stronger motivations and a plot behind it. When what Martin brings brings to the scene is something that we didn't do a lot for Robert in Fleeting Iris. It's not just the NTR mechanics and the NTR and the anxiety mechanics. You will see where there's genuine feelings of jealousy creeping in Martin, and the whole nostalgia fetish, and there's a bunch of other things that are just fetish, but it needs to be something else. Obviously, there's the former childhood crush fantasy. There's the layered corruption. There's emotional cheating. There's manipulation. There's jealousy. There's the cuckold anxiety. There's the proof in plain sight or the hidden sex scenes where you have plausible deniability. The almost caught tension and the emotional triangulation in just one scene. So all of the scenes need to be rich in a multitude of ways, other than just this character in this place for because she needs to wear a gym outfit, or she needs to wear like a red dress or whatever. Everything that we do for Bloodlust needs to have really strong motivations for the scenes. There's people in the chat. Oh, it's morning. What up, brother? Sub kind of late here. Fig 1998. Hello, hello, Fig. Welcome to the chat. I think it's the first time I see you here. Welcome to the Evan Studios podcast. Morgan said, "Don't forget the shadow scenes." I don't know. Oh, the shadow scenes. Yeah, there's going to be that. Obviously, by shadow scenes, he's probably talking about seeing the silhouettes of characters behind, like a curtain or like a window or whatever it is. There's going to be some of that as well. But what I wanted to point out with this kind of like teaser for one of Terry's scenes is that we want to create the story to be so much better than everything that we did for Fleeting Iris. We want not only the writing but the characters and whatnot to feel like a lot richer. I feel like Robert wasn't active enough in Fleeting Iris. I feel like became kind of generic after a while, and we're going to be writing Eve and Jazz a lot different from each other's, and from Ayame as well. But when doing the Fleeting Iris remake, I want to make sure that people get Ayame's innocence and naivety without ever making seem like the dumbest person on the planet. Eve, however, is a mature woman with mature necessities, and there will be points where you will see Eve not being like blackmailed per se, which felt like one of the reasons for a lot of what was happening in Fleeting Iris. Eve will be more like a mature woman that is, in tune with her necessities, with her needs. And some of the characters, obviously, she's going to feel like she's doing it for bullshit motivations, but later down the road, it's not going to be, oh no, you again. Like, you will see these characters grow on Eve, and being able to see, going through her relationship profiles and see how she feels about someone, shows you how these people are growing into, how Eve feels more warm towards them, right? So if you start denying the characters from the get-go, you will see always Eve being cold to them. But if you see Eve progressing through the routes and whatnot, you will see kind of like the motivation to what led Eve to open up to these people. Like, for instance, Terry calling her by her real name is something that is going to piss her off early on, but then you realize that she actually appreciates it later down the road. The principal being like protective of her and showing her the good life and whatnot, you will see that she's going to have remarks like, it feels good to be treated like a princess, it feels good to be protected and taken care of instead of having to take care of everyone for a change and whatnot. So you will see how these characters grow into Eve progressively, and we feel like, even though the game might have less scenes, I feel like all of the scenes in Bloodlust, or most of the scenes in Bloodlust, are going to have a much bigger impact in the game, so to speak. Morgan asks, there's no news on goals for Bloodlust, like what routes will be added if X amount was reached. Not right now. We are focused on releasing the first earlier patches and focusing on what needs to be released. And then once we have a couple patches out and we finally have basically reworked our Patreon page, because we need to update it because people think we're still working on Fleeting Iris. We need to change the page. We need to give it a little review to make it reflect that we're working on Bloodlust. Once we do that, we can finally focus on the later scenes. Loki, I want to know how you write Eve falling for the janitor. Basically, he's going to help her a few times during school infiltrations and whatnot, and it's going to feel like he's genuinely caring for her, like an older person will care for a younger person. And then eventually they will start keeping each other company. He's going to tell her a lot of secrets of what is happening around the school and whatnot. And basically she's going to grow into him slowly, and eventually she will want to reward him for his loyalty and everything he's done for her. Kind of like, this is more or less what he's doing. Obviously, Morgan is doing it in kind of like a mischievous way. He's kind of trying to play as the fragile old man that can do anything, but obviously Morgan has different motivations. Not Morgan the person on chat, the Morgan, the character, the janitor character. So yeah, we hope that the writing and everything else that we are creating, that we feel like it's much better than Fleeting Iris in terms of like the mapping, the menus, the soundtrack, just everything in general. We feel like it's a lot more fleshed out, and we are a lot more competent than we were back when we started working on Fleeting Iris. So I hope you guys enjoyed the Bloodlust demo. We're gonna try to make the second demo the final demo, and we're gonna try and make it look really incredible. But yeah, you guys gonna have to wait for June 30 for that to happen. It was good to be back. It's finally good to be back to the podcast, even though I'm trying really, really hard not to cough the whole time, because I know that it might start a chain of coughing, but it is what it is. I asked them what could I do for this, and they were like, nothing. There's no, it's just a symptom. There's nothing to treat anymore. We treated you, now you're going to have to, deal with that cough for, who knows, a month, two. There's nothing you can do about it. Just deal with it. You can sleep, right? And I'm like, yeah, after a while, I can cough a couple times when I go to bed, but it doesn't stop me from sleeping anymore. And they're like, yo, well, then fixed. Just deal with the coughing. You might have it for 1 or 2 months. Deal with it. And yeah, so now also just waiting on a monitor. Actually, let me look. Maybe the guy sent me a message already. Nope, still no message. Fuck me. So yeah, it's really good to be back. It's really good to see all the faces in the chat again. I hope you guys like the news about Floating Gyrus from Bloodlust. Journey Abroad, there's not a lot to say, dude. We were already full throttle. The first patch was amazing. We were really, really happy with what we wanted to accomplish. We did some work. It's not a complete patch. It's far from a complete patch. But we said that we were going to release stuff, and we're going to release stuff, whatever we have. So next week, regardless, Friday we are going to do. Sorry, not Friday, Saturday, because Isaac cannot work Friday for whatever reason. Next week on Saturday, we are going to do a release. Worst case scenario, like Monday after that. But we are going to do a release of Journey Abroad, which is going to be very far from what we plan to do, especially because this patch is very technically difficult, because we're going to have to draw them all. We are going to have to draw the mall. Might have not been might have said that too fast. So the mall is going to have a bunch of stores where the Journey Abroad main character will be able to work on, as well as having the arcades where you're going to go on dates, and you're going to spend a lot of time after school. There's going to be the food court. There's going to be the gym, which is you will be working out on and raising your stats on. So we're going to have to do that, and that alone is going to be a fucking nightmare. We have already started drawing it. It's not finished. And then we also have to draw the Ayame's house for the cameo. And we also have to draw the church for his adventures on church on Sunday, where he will meet Layla's mother, the wife of the Reverend. And yeah, all those maps are going to be pretty freaking huge. So we're going to try and do our best to see if we can at least finish those by next week. And then there's some other stuff that we have already finished in the past. I can probably tease you guys. Okay, let's teaser for today. Then we're going to call it a day. Let me see. Where is it? I hope it's here. Journey Abroad, Photoshop. I think it's this. Okay, yeah, here we go. Last teaser. Let me just make sure that everything is in place. Okay, so this is going to be. We have these for all the characters. I have already finished these for all the characters. This took a lot more time than I planned, because, and this is gonna be easy to explain. First of all, I had to make bullshit stats for all these characters, and not knowing jack shit about women's sizes, this took a lot longer than I was hoping that it would. What happens if I go right click and fit the screen? It doesn't look as good as I thought it would be, but whatever. So the characters change a little bit. As you see, Esperanza has kind of like a red aura. All of the characters are going to be having like a different aura and whatnot. And yeah, I obviously had to come up with bullshit stats, as well as draw the entire UI and whatnot. And yeah, now that we have a system in Bloodlust where you are able to switch the game from Metric to Imperial, because God knows we don't want to go like, oh man, I have a 9-inch 23 centimeter dick in the dialogue. Like now the dialogue will reflect whatever you pick in the options, which means I might also have to switch this menu to just either European settings or just to saying European, but I should say metric, to just the metric settings or just the imperial settings. There you go. It probably won't take a long to change that. So yeah, this is going to make the next patch. I have made these sorts of profiles for all the characters, and then we're gonna have something similar. And considering that, like, keep in mind, Journey Abroad is like 30 different characters. So, and considering that we're going to be creating similar systems, but for the antagonists in Bloodlust, where you have a big presentation, boom, antagonist, and whatever, how you meet them and the motivations and whatnot. It's also gonna look really, really cool. But yeah, this is some of the stuff that we have been already working on and behind the scenes. So yeah, we are going to have a patch next week. Hopefully it's a good one. Hopefully I'll have my computer screen to speed up the process. We're going to have a patch next week on for Journey Abroad, and the patch for Bloodlust is well underway. I've been working on a lot of shit. Like you guys saw the front end of the relationship menu. I've been working a lot on that since it's on the server computer that Isaac usually works on. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. I definitely did. Of course, this coughing I could live without, but whatever. I hope you guys like the new picture for season 3. Obviously, the things haven't been colored for Bloodlust, but they will be colored soon. And yeah, dude, it was really nice to be able to share what's in our mind. Next week, we're probably not gonna have a podcast. It's probably just gonna be us trying to do. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe next week we'll have a smaller podcast. Maybe we just jump a week. But I know that a lot of you like the podcast, and it's something that you kind of listen to while doing the dishes and or commuting from work to home or whatever it is. So I don't know. Even if it's like for like 20 minutes or whatever, I'm gonna try and keep you guys updated on what we did next this week, and if we have updates for you next week, and kind of use this as this is what we did last week, and kind of like just show you a bunch of teasers and whatnot. Yeah, and I hope you guys like the teasers for the next patch, not only just in terms of like the UI and whatnot, but the story wise and what to expect for Bloodlust. Once again, thank you so much for joining us and spending time with us. It's really appreciated. It's really cool seeing that people are interested in our games just as much as we are in developing them. And yeah, man, I have to say, like, honestly, after all these time that this freaking cancer of a rocky start, dude, it was incredibly important for us to get like a decent first version, so that we could, not lose gas on future versions, because I know that supports for these games are kind of like a snowball, and it's really hard to take off. But once you take off, if you slow down, it's over. I know that for a fact. So that's why we want all the patches to be significant. We wanted to get these 2 patches out of the way finally, and we finally were able to do so. And I'm incredibly happy. I know that people are able to look into these games and see that how passionate we are about working in these projects, and the amount of love and the amount of creativity and the amount of just work in general that goes into making those two demos, and all the stuff behind it that is already that is the I don't know the word in English. It's alicerce in Portuguese. It's basically the foundation for the foundation for future patches. Yeah, dude. It was really important for us to finally get these patches over and let people see that we're still here, still in business, still working really hard to put out something outstanding. And yeah, we feel like we in general were able to accomplish it, but we just need to keep working. We just need to keep doing our releases and make sure that we adhere to the monthly releases, and hopefully don't have like incredibly shitty months like this one. But it is what it is, I certainly felt like my age will reflect my my energy to work on these games at this point. But there was only one thing that changed. Like, when working on Fleeting Iris, I actually consider like cutting corners. Get rid of some characters that people didn't like Clark and whatnot, just for the sake of making like a shorter but more impactful game. But I was like, yeah, no, we're not gonna take any shortcuts, because that just ain't us. At some point, I even looked and started considering changing Bloodlust to a visual novel, to allow us to deliver much faster game and whatnot. But the game will lose so many of their core mechanics and immersion and other shit that we were like, listen, either we get to release what we promised and what we want to release, and something that is completely like deviating from the norm and make people really want to like receive the patch and feel like Christmas morning, like, oh my god, yes, I'm going to fucking enjoy this so much, and then fire a patch and be able to have like crazy fun for 2 or 3 hours. And sure, we could cut corners, but we just feel like we will probably just deliver such an underwhelming product, and it will be so mediocre. It will be so like it will be just another clone. There's already so many games out there that if you're really not trying to bring something new and something exciting to the scene, it's like, sure, you might be working out of passion, but it's just noise. It's just clutter at some point. And that was never us. We were always the guys that worked on a crazy ass game with a crazy amount of size when everybody said, yeah, dude, that's not doable. You're fucking crazy. We might be fucking crazy, and a lot of things certainly point that way. That's true. But we're still here, and we're still going to try and fucking release amazing hentai. And as long as you guys are on that side, I'm sure that eventually everything is gonna fucking turn out alright. It always does. So let's keep working, guys. Let's stay positive despite all the negativity that happened. And we're really excited. We're super passionate. We're really looking forward to keep working on these games. After the demos, we are just so excited to finally be like, see guys, it's here. It's we worked on this so hard, but now you can look at it. You can see how passionate we were about doing this. You can see how much work, how much stuff went into this. Like, not just the dialogue, not just the maps, not just the drawings. It's everything. Like, you can look at it and you can see, damn, a lot of work went into this. A lot of passion went into this. Like, these guys are really trying to do the next big thing once again. And it feels great, dude. It feels great to be able to be here talking to you guys once again. It feels great to be able to work on these games. And dude, like I've always said, the car is making a lot of weird noises, but we're gonna fucking ride until the wheels fall off. It is what it is. As long as you guys stay on that side, we will be staying on this side. As usual, much appreciated for you guys to be joining us, even if you're not listening directly. If you're listening to this on a VOD, it doesn't matter. I appreciate you for being here in some way, shape, or form. And as always, I wish you guys much fortune, much health, and much love. And I will see you guys next week. Peace out, guys. Have a good one.
Okey